person elected to the lieutenant governorship of the state of New York, Ana Maria Archila.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question for Lou.
Well, let's hear from Ana Maria first.
Okay, you do great. You do great.
Thank you,
my hats off to you.
Thank you. I am so proud. I am so proud to be standing here with Senator John Liu, someone who I have worked with and followed and admired for 20 years. I remember the first campaign that we ran to win access to information and government services for immigrant New Yorkers who speak a language other than English. And at the time, that seemed like a radical idea, and it took us so long and so much effort to make sure that in the city of New York, immigrant New Yorkers were welcomed and served through language access. And these are the kinds of realities that are invisible to most people in government, who do not come from our communities and who do not understand the daily lives of immigrant families, the daily lives of working families who are struggling to make ends meet every single day. We live in one of the richest states in the country. Sir, thank you. We live in one of the richest states in the country, but also one of the most unequal states. And it is inequality that has been created through decades and decades of decisions that prioritize the interests of billionaires and real estate developers above the needs of working families. It does not have to be that way. The fact is that our community, this beautiful community of Flushing, demonstrate the resilience, the vibrancy, and the contributions of working families to our state, to our economy. And it is actually important to recognize that reality and invest in the things that allow people to live lives of dignity and allow people to live lives of prosperity. I have spent 20 years building and leading organizations that allow working families to be respected, to be listened to in our democracy. Organizations that are rooted in immigrant communities, in Black and brown communities, and working class communities in New York State and across the country. Because I know that in our democracy, it is the voices of these communities that get drowned out by the millions and millions of dollars that get poured into elections and that surround the governor's office every single day. We have an opportunity right now to actually take bold action to support working families, to support the communities that were most impacted by the pandemic. The pandemic revealed how broken our system of healthcare is, how much the lack of affordable, safe housing makes people vulnerable in a moment like COVID pandemic, and how important it is to shore up the systems of support that families need. Childcare, healthcare, access to elder care. And so we have an opportunity to actually invest in the things that people need. But in these moments, the governor and her two lieutenant governors have failed to actually address those needs and invest in the priorities of working families. We saw just in the last budget a governor who chose to stop the budget process to fulfill the demands of a billionaire who said, I need a stadium in the city of Buffalo, a place where 50% of the children live in poverty. And so she stopped the budget to make sure that that billionaire would get the stadium that he was demanding. She did not stop the budget to make sure that New Yorkers would have access to housing voucher programs so that they can stay in their home if they're struggling to pay rent. She did not stop the budget to make sure that immigrant families would have access to childcare and healthcare. That is not what she did. What she did was slow down the budget process to make sure that the billionaire would get the stadium that he wanted. And her lieutenant governor at the time said nothing. Nothing. In support of the families who needed Albany to act on their behalf. She slowed down the legislative session to make sure that she could change state law and introduce a new lieutenant governor in the race in the middle of the election. She did not slow down the legislative session to make sure that people that the promise of this country lives in the moments when people take care of one another and fight for one another. These are lessons I have learned by working for 20 years to fight for immigrant rights, to fight for workers, to fight for tenants, to fight for communities like the community of Flushing that often get left behind, that often are an afterthought from elected officials who don't come from our communities. So in these moments, I want to offer to New Yorkers an idea that is not a radical idea, which is that Albany should prioritize the needs of our families above the whims of billionaires. That our state government could choose to prioritize people instead of prioritizing real estate. That in this moment, we could listen to the ideas that come from communities like this one, about the need to invest in small businesses, about the need to protect people from evictions, about the need to make sure that working families have access to childcare, even if their children are born in another country. And so I am going around the state talking about the idea that the lieutenant governor should be an ally to people, not a representative of the governor in ribbon-cutting ceremonies, not a quiet person when people are suffering. The lieutenant governor should speak up every single day to make sure that New Yorkers can have the certainty that the state government will prioritize their needs, will prioritize their struggles and their dreams above the whims of billionaires and donors. It is not a radical idea, but it is an idea that has found the right moment, because all across the state, people are joining this campaign because they feel both inspired, respected, and honored, but also because they are tired of being asked to wait. Our communities have been asked to wait and wait and wait. Wait for safety, wait for better schools, wait for affordable housing, wait, and we are tired of waiting. I am tired of waiting for immigrants to be included in the most basic safety net. I am tired of seeing my community celebrated with words, but never respected with policies that allows us to live well. And so today I am saying I am so proud to be standing in this beautiful corner of Flushing, a place where the fight for inclusion of immigrants in our state, in our city government started. This is where the fight for language access started. This is where we won that fight, thanks to John Liu, and thanks to the people who choose to stand up for